I've been wanting to make this announcement about the audio version of MIDIPan for some weeks, but I started with small batches, as you do, which have gone straight away, and you can't announce something when you're sold out. I should say plus audio instead of audio version because it still has the same MIDI functionality with traditional MIDI and MIDI over USB, but adds an audio output. When I first conceived MIDIPan, it was as a touch-sensitive MIDI controller, and that's how I've tended to use it. And for other people who understand MIDI and wanted a MIDI controller, it's gone down extremely well. It has also found an audience who just wanted to plug in headphones or a speaker. For those people, having to connect it to a computer or mobile device for the sound has been an additional step that they could have done without. So here we are. Besides the MIDI outputs, this has that audio jack, which will take headphones, a powered speaker, or anything else that expects line-level audio. So what sounds does it make? The sounds are in a sound font file on an SD card, so in principle it can contain up to 128 banks of 128 sounds. This is the reason that in recent versions of the firmware, bank selection appears beside program selection. So potentially you can have thousands of sounds on here if you want to create the sound font. I should be clear that while switching the sound font is possible, and I will help you if you want to do that, the card isn't that easy to access. I designed this with the intention of using it as supplied. For the first few that I sent out, I included a very good general MIDI sound font, which contains the whole range of general MIDI instruments, plucked, blown, percussion, synth, fantasy, as well as kit drums. That's because that's the sound font that I'd been using when I plugged my MIDIPan into a Raspberry Pi. It does have some appropriate sounds like kalimba, marimba, steel drums and other percussive sounds. But the GM spec doesn't have actual handpan or tongue drum sounds, which I felt were essential for a device modelled on a tongue drum. So I've compiled my own sound font which contains some handpan and tongue drum sounds as well as a range of other suitable sounds, and that's what I've been installing on the audio MIDI pans I've sent out since the 1st of March. Since I've been asked for this, I'll run through those sounds now. The first group is a compilation of tongue drum and handpan and related sounds. It starts with a nice mellow tongue drum sound. Then a brighter steel tongue drum. A handpan. And then some of my favourites from an MT32 collection, including Harmopan, Bell Singer, Wind Bell, Water Bell, and Fantasy. The next 8 are the general MIDI chromatic percussion, such as Celesta, Glockenspiel, Music Box, Vibraphone, Marimba, Xylophone, and Tubular Bells. The next 8 are the general MIDI pads, including Warm Pad, Bowed Glass, Metal Pad, halo pad, sweep pad. Although most of these sounds work in any octave, most sound best within a certain octave. For example, I like the higher notes on the glockenspiel. Having said that, it's worth playing around because some can sound very different, in a good way, in a different octave, such as this one, which makes a great bass synth, a couple of octaves down. Then we have the general MIDI atmospheric sound effects, including ice rain, crystal, atmosphere, brightness, goblin, echo drops, and star theme. Then the general MIDI ethnic instruments, which is the group that contains kalimba and steel drums, along with a few other eclectic real instrument sounds. There are a few ways to access the kit drum sounds. Traditionally, drums are on MIDI channel 10, so you can switch to channel 10, choose chromatic scale and find all of the kit sounds through a few octaves. Alternatively, simply dial up the kit scale and the pads will be mapped to the more common drums.